Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March meeting of the Booth Artists Guild. This is absolutely an amazing facility. I wasn't able to be here last month for the first one, and I am overly impressed. I think this is a marvelous facility, and I want to take an opportunity, as always, to thank the museum, the staff, the directors, the people operating in the booth. It's just an amazing thing that they do for us to allow us to have this Artists Guild, to have the opportunity to learn and to network and get to know each other and help each of us improve our art. And this is a wonderful way. We got a great program tonight. But before we get to there, Kathy's waiting. I do want to say, anybody who got overly sunburned today because it was 80 degrees out, please sit in the back of the auditorium so we don't hear you moan. It was a beautiful day, beautiful day. The one thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention is our website. We have a magnificent website, the Booth Artists Guild website, on which has all the listing of the meetings, the programs with the Art Academy. It has the members who have joined with some of their artwork. It's just a great way to get out there and have a tool for all of us to use. So please take a look if you haven't already. Get your information to the website. Mike Strickland will be more than happy to help you with that, and to help booster our art guild. It's a magnificent tool. And oh, by the way, I think I failed to introduce myself. If you don't know, I'm Jim Gilchrist. I'm one of Palma's helpers. Maria and Mike and I help her. And Palma, by the way, had a magnificent time at the gala and was just a little bit worn out today, so she's staying home tonight. That's why you get me. And she said she misses not being here and being with each and every one of you. So take a look at the website and look for the meetings. It has a list of the upcoming exhibits and that we are eligible for. And it has, we'll have in the future links to the Zoom meetings as we get that is fully established. Also, next month in April, we have IDEA for the Multimedia Board Company is going to do a presentation on the surfaces that they present. And now, I've never seen any of the multimedia painting surfaces, so I'm looking forward to that presentation. And so IDEA will be here, and we'll learn all about that. Now, for tonight, one other thing is watch for a message about Magnolia Garden Club here in Cartersville. Will be doing their tour, and they're looking for plein air artists to be at some of the different gardens to do some paintings while the tour is going on. So if you're interested in plein air painting and opportunities to do that, watch for the Magnolia Garden Club. Now for tonight, we have a wonderful presentation by an artist standing right next to me, Kathy Anderson. And I have a whole list here, two-sided, of all the things that she's done. Don't. And I'm not going to, because, quite honestly, we can all look up here on the screen and say, oh my, she's got a lot to tell us. And I'm looking forward to hearing each and every word of it tonight. So let us all give Kathy a warm welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you, all of you, for coming, especially when it's time for dinner. So thank you so much for coming. So this presentation, first of all, I just have to tell you that I really prepared this presentation very thoroughly. The only thing I didn't do was time it. So I don't know how long it is, so I'm going to actually have to babble a lot, probably, and ask for questions in between so that we aren't finished in 15 minutes. But I'm pretty good at babbling, so here we go. So what this is actually the history of my entire life in 15 minutes. So this painting is, I think I address it later, but if I don't, I will get back to it. So I've been painting my whole life. In high school I painted. I went to college for fine art, I studied fine art, advertising art and design. I flunked out because I hated it. I stunk at that. I couldn't come up with ideas for advertising. But my hands were always in art. This is when my children, look at my outfit. I mean, is this like so pathetic? Look at my outfit. Like, who wears that? Who wears clothes like that? But this was when my kids were in elementary school. And, you know, as artists, you're always asked to do whatever, anything. So I painted this sign that goes outside, that went outside the elementary school. So that's kind of the, you know, I started by, I guess I always had the nerve to let my work be out there and be seen a little bit. So I chose this painting this photo just to show the beginning of where I kind of started. So I started actually in watercolors. I always loved flowers and animals, and to this day, I'm sorry, it has never changed. That's been my passion. So these are early watercolors. So you can see how tight I was then. It's like what we were just talking about. But I worked on my drawing skills early. And I look back on these paintings, and a lot of them I cringe. But then I say, okay, at least my drawing was pretty good. But I look at this, and it's like, you know, too tight for my taste right now. But I see like, oh, okay, I wasn't that bad then. This is another one, like super tight, but good drawing. Again, I think my perspective is pretty good. But working in watercolors, I think I worked in watercolors most of the time when my children were young. This is an early floral. It's really not, what do you think, Dorothy? What do you think, Dorothy? It's not so different, like composition-wise. I mean, I look at it now, of course, the composition is, it's not so bad, actually, except I could critique it to death, but I'm not going to do that. But you can see that it was always the passion for flowers, and look at that, 1988. I like to tell a story that I told in class today. I think it was that one of my first classes that I ever took, my mentor and very dear friend who's long deceased, he was a lovely painter, and he set up plastic lilacs with dust all over them, and that was what we were supposed to paint. And I remember saying like, oh my God, Frank, I can't paint that. I just can't paint that. And he was like, well, of course you can. You're an artist. An artist can paint anything. You can create a painting from anything. And I just kept saying, I have no feeling for that. I cannot paint. Plus, I was always a gardener, and I loved flowers so much. But that was always, which brings me, I'm going to jump a million feet forward to painting with Richard Schmid and Nancy Guzik. One of our favorite sayings was, Richard always loved what he painted, and Nancy painted what she loved. And the meaning of that was that Richard, he was such a master that whatever he created, he just loved the way he painted. And Nancy, and I'm definitely more of Nancy's vein, I have to be connected and so excited with what I'm going to paint. So that was, anyway. So anyway, I always liked flowers. That's the end of that story. So, whoops. Oh no, I'm already a failure. Nothing's happening when I click. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, another watercolor. Also, I think my drawing is good on this. If you want to be a painter, you must learn to draw. You have to have good drawing skills, no matter what. You can have the best painting in the world, and if it has any sort of realism in your painting and your drawing is off, it's the first thing that people are going to notice. So learn to draw. It's very, very important. Another early watercolor. And now I love to paint. I've always loved to paint animals and birds. This is an early cardinal that I painted, but look, the composition is really crap. Let's face it. I mean, there's nothing there but the bird, but whatever. And this is also another terrible watercolor. The rabbit is really good, but I didn't know anything about putting the landscape in, and but there you go. There's my little flowers again, and with the rabbit, so. And this is one of the last watercolors I did. This is definitely more advanced. It's more something that I would kind of do today in oils. I guess what I would say is that I would still be proud of this painting even to this day. It was actually the cover for a solo show I had in a gallery in Connecticut in 2009. I thought it was earlier than that, but anyway, from my early years in the watercolor painting, I moved into painting murals because my son painted in high school. He was in the stage crew for the theater productions in high school, and I volunteered to do the scene painting rather, and so that's how I got into painting murals. I would be painting a backdrop like the size of this, and I always had visions that I was going to be painting, and West Side Story was going to be playing behind me, and I'd be listening to the dun 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 dun, and I'd be painting. It'd be so exciting. That's not what happened. I'd be painting at 10 o'clock at night when they all went home, and I'd be all by myself painting these giant backdrops. But what did it do for me? It taught me to really paint huge and really know how to kind of simplify a little bit. So I learned a lot. And from that, I wound up getting into a mural business. I won't even go into how that happened. But this is one of the murals I did in high school, in the corridor near the music room. Look how young I was. God. I want everyone to know that I was young at that point. So, look, 1995, so that was the mural that I created. This was a mural in someone's home, a wine cellar. So that's all. Let's see, they told me I could use this green button to point to things, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's all paint. That's all paint around that door. And it's the wine bottle and the wine glass is all paint. It's all paint. This was another mural that I did, which was, that was just a wall, so it's a column with flowers painted around the column. But when I painted murals, I worked with these two people, did faux finishing on the wall, just, the ragging, that beautiful texture that people. So I didn't know how to price myself, and they were charging more than I was, and I was just painting paintings on the people's walls. I did all that lettering, and I painted all that sky and clouds, and it was crazy. And this was a designer's store that I painted. That's a copy of a Monet painting on the left there. That's a really bad photo, but and all these. This is all from my mural days. This is a dining room, went all the way around the room, and I copied, I think, some wallpaper that they loved, and so these are just murals. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I always kept my hand in painting. Things like this, those rabbits on the floor, that's when I knew I had to give the business up, because I had to lay on the floor to paint. How do you paint rabbits right above the molding on the floor? I'm like laying on the floor. It was like, I was young then, and I couldn't even do it. It was like so painful. I'm like, oh my God. But then, guess what? I met the Putney Painters, and I was just telling Jim that if everybody knows who Richard Schmidt and the Putney Painters and Nancy Guzik, I met Richard because he used to live in Sherman, Connecticut, and raised his girls there, and used to come back every year and do a demo. And when he came back one year, he bought one of my paintings, which was like amazing. When I went it was an outdoor show to benefit the fire department, and when I came back, he said, the girls said to me, "Oh, guess who bought your painting, Richard?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And he was walking down the path, and I went up to him, I'm like, "Oh my God, I think you bought my painting. Thank you so much. You probably threw it out. You probably don't even like it." So anyway, but then he invited me to come the next year, and he invited me to come to Putney Painters, which was 2 hours and 15 minutes from my home. And then this began for 2000, I think it was 2000. So that's when I started with the Putney Painters. And, there. So there's there's Richard and Nancy, and the Putney Painters were nothing but joy. I always tear up when I talk about it. It was just nothing but joy. It was painting, beautiful music that Richard would choose in the background. This was one of his birthday parties. If anybody knows who Daniel Keyes is, that he's over in the side there because he used to come and paint with us. And it was just, this was one of our day. That's Stephanie Birdsall on the left there. And there's Richard all the way over on the right. This is a portrait day. But that's the way Putney Painters were. We would paint like the fall semester, if you call it a semester, and a spring, and we'd meet like every other week or so, and we'd either paint portraits, which, by the way, the first time I went to Putney Painters, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what we were painting, and it was a portrait from life. And that was the first time I ever painted a portrait from life. And I didn't know, what the heck? How am I going to do this? It's like, I still actually have that portrait, but then I thought I was there for a class, but it was never a class. It was just a collaboration of incredible people, that no competition, and we just all supported each other. It was the best. I mean, we still do it. Richard passed away, I think it'll be 3 years ago, and one of our wonderful painters, Carol Arnold, right there in the front with the dark hair, she's kept it going through the pandemic and with Zoom, and so we still meet all the time. So that was the Putney Painters, which changed my life, because when I first met the Putney Painters, sorry I'm doing this because the light's bothering me. When I first met the Putney Painters, I didn't know you could make a living as an artist. I made a living as, I have a wonderful husband, but our incomes combined, but I thought my mural business, and then my mural business started dying because I was a crap marketer and nobody was giving me jobs anymore, and then I sort of melded into the Putney Painters. But until I met them, I didn't realize that you can make a living as an artist. And, people that think you shouldn't talk about that as an artist, it's just silly. I have so many friends, many dads with 4 or 5 children out west, that make livings, and you just make it where it has nothing to do with your passion and of painting. It's a combination of everything. So anyway, that's when I first realized that because I was a little panicking that I lost my mural business, that all of a sudden, I guess I'm not going to have a problem talking, right? Okay, anyway, blah, blah, blah. Here we go, the plein air circuit. The first time I applied to the Telluride Plein Air Show, I had no idea what it was. I didn't even know what it was. I think it was 2006 or 7. I thought I was just applying for a painting show. But then when I got accepted, I found out that it's not a show that you mail a painting. You go there and you paint. So I don't know if anybody does any of the plein air circuit, but that is another pivotal point in my life that totally changed my life. I went out there knowing no one, knowing nothing what I was going to do. I was out, it's Telluride, Colorado. The altitude is 14,000 feet. They had an opening reception, and I drank a couple of beers and vomited that whole night because I didn't know the altitude made you so sick. But it was like, and I painted all these paintings, and the first year I didn't know anybody. I cried in the bathroom, and it was like such a, I did Telluride Plein Air for 7 years. I'm going to cry again. I made the best friends of my life, really. So many good friends. But anyway, this is, I'm a crier, sorry. Anyway, the plein air circuit. So this is just the proof of me in a pen with donkeys, plein air painting. And this stupid donkey, of course, wouldn't stay where he was supposed to be, over by the fence. So anyway, the owner finally came out and threw some food over there. But part of plein air painting, this was actually last year, because Telluride had their 20th reunion, and they invited 5 really old people to come, and that was the five of us. And we had such a blast, but it was so funny because none of us could breathe. because it was 15 years ago. 20 years ago, we couldn't breathe with the altitude, but we had such a blast. But I can tell you, this is the first plein air painting I ever did, and I didn't know really what it was all about. And I remember saying to one of the artists, I said, "Well, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do?" And he said, "Go for what appeals, what you're really." Oh my God, I can't think of my words. Go what attracts you immediately. Go what really inspires you, the first thing you see when you're out plein air painting. Because you can't take the time to look around, maybe there's something in another tree that's better around the corner, or maybe, whatever around the corner. He said, get what you want, get the focus of what you want, and let everything else go. And what he meant was, don't let everything else go completely, but you can't create a complete painting in whatever. I had 5 days, and I said, well, how many paintings do people normally do? And he said, 10, 12. And I'm like, what? In 5 days? I think I actually did 7 paintings in 5 days. But I was never, and I'm still not a plein air painter that can do a painting in one sitting. When I did these shows, I would go out in the morning and do the painting, and then the next morning I'd go out for 2 hours in the same light at the same time and do the painting, and then I'd have another one in the middle or another one at night, if you know what I mean. So, and some people think there's crazy reasoning about people think there's cheating in plein air, like you should never take your painting back and touch it in your room, you should never touch it at home. I think that's just crazy. That's ridiculous. I'm not painting from a projector or a photo. In those days I didn't even have like an iPad or anything, so, and I would instinctively I knew I would never take that painting and try to finish it from a photograph, because as soon as you pull a photograph out, you're in a whole different dimension and you're trapped with detail and etc. There's one thing I learned from Richard Schmid. It's paint from life. Paint from life. Even if you don't want to go outside, because it's hard to go outside, it really is, at least bring something inside and paint from life, because you'll never see the colors, you'll never see the temperature, you'll never get that feeling. And I got so hooked on it. I'm telling you, I loved it so much. So this was actually I didn't realize that Telluride was like Martha's Vineyard. Like, I went to Telluride, it was always the July 4th weekend, and they had peonies, and they had poppies. It was like my dream, the town and all the gingerbread houses. It's not the same, by the way, anymore, when I went this summer. So this is also Telluride. This is a waterfall that I hiked up to. Remember, I was younger. The gorgeous, this is completely plein air. And this would be like, for example, one of my wall, because you had to man your own booth in Telluride. And then 2021, so I was also a member of the Rocky Mountain Plein Air Painters. Don't ask me why I'm from Connecticut. What the heck, But, why am I still holding my hand here? I don't know. But anyway, I went to Bozeman because we had a reunion of the Rocky Mountain Plein Air Painters. And there's something about painting from life, especially when you're in these kind of situations, that is so exhilarating, and you just can't get that feeling from a photo. You just can't. And by the way, just to talk briefly about equipment, when I painted for 10 days in Montana and used that tiny Edge Pro box. The little Edge Pro, it's only this big, and it has a little side panel that my husband put glass on, but it disciplined me so much on keeping my palette clean, and at night I didn't save piles of paint, I just threw them out, and so it worked perfectly for me. I painted for 10 days with that. This is also that Montana, way up in the same thing, waterfall. And this is my wall in Montana. So Rocky Mountain Plein Air Painters, another place I have met my closest, dearest friends. This was from OPA, had their convention at Steamboat Springs in 2022. and I did this little painting here. It's a very small painting. I think it was like 6 by 8, 8 by 6. This painting, I put it in the plein air, but it's not really plein air. I did this was from Yorkshire, England. I painted some small studies when I was there, but this is actually a studio painting. But this is where when I started using ivory black. The first time, rosemary brushes. I'm sure everybody uses rosemary brushes. I hope they do. But Rosemary's, whose company, Rosemary Thompson, and her daughter Simi are very, very close friends of mine. And the first time I taught in Yorkshire, that's when I put ivory black on my palette, because I never used ivory black because Richard didn't use ivory black. And ivory black with yellow ochre, with some little greens put in. It was just so perfect for the feeling of Yorkshire. And that's what you always want, is that to get the feeling of it. I wanted to get the feeling of those mossy rocks and the greens and the sheep, and so I just, oh God, I love it there so much. I go there, oh, this is going to be funny, but I go there to teach a floral workshop. I think I've taught like 3 times there, and whenever I get there, I'm like, oh my God, why do I have to paint flowers? It's so beautiful, the rock walls and the sheep and the rolling green hills, and it's just so beautiful. I put this in because of the next painting I'll show you. This was at OPA also in Steamboat, and we painted outside of a few of us decided to paint Grace Arnold and Dave. I don't know if you know Dave Santillanes. He's phenomenal. Colorado artist. That's his little daughter Kelly, and we were painting them out on the rocks. We had the model, and then we took a break, and this is a video actually. So is it going to run, Jim? It doesn't look like it's going to run.
Mike would have to do that. Apparently it's not running. Let me go check on it.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, but hopefully it will run. They were sitting on those rocks, and we were painting them, and we were like all chatting happily, and then they were taking a break, and all of a sudden we looked up, and there's a black bear up there, and he came meandering over the hill, and right down practically to the rocks, and then he just went off the other. Oh, I hope they can make it run, because I love this video. It's so funny. Sure, please ask questions. Yes.
Do you still use the ivory black now?
I have the ivory black on my palette all the time now. Yes, I do. Because I put it into washes sometime with lots of different things. Ivory black and transparent oxide red, ivory black with Viridian, depending on what I'm painting. Putting it on transparently, not with any white paint, and keeping it, nice with nice brush strokes. But yes, I do keep the black now, because it's really become. Richard used to make black with ultramarine and Viridian, alizarin, and a little ultramarine, and that makes a beautiful black. But I'm loving using ivory black now. So, sorry.
And it's easier too.
It's definitely easier.
When you say ivory black, does that mean ivory and black?
No, it's called ivory black. It's I use Michael Harding or Rembrandt ivory black. It's okay if it doesn't run.
And she's going to reboot it. It will run once she reboots it.
Sure.
Chromatic black then?
Pardon?
Is that a chromatic black?
I'm sorry. What do you mean by chromatic? Sorry.
Well, there are chromatics in some of those colors now. Ivory is not ivory.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it means it's blending of other colors to get to that. It's got more colors into it.
Oh, I don't know.
Ivory black is what I use.
Yeah.
But I rarely, I always bend it one way or the other with something else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I usually don't use it straight. Should I go to the next one then?
Well, yeah, if you like.
Okay. If it doesn't work, it's fine. I just told them what happened. So here's me panicking, picking up my phone. And here he comes. Here he comes. And we're like, oh my God. And there's a little crow there too. Yeah. We're like, oh my God. And Dave Santianas and his wife Heather, who are both from Colorado, weren't phased in the least bit. They were just like, it's just a black bear. It's like, they're not going to bother you. It's like, yeah, well, there's. Okay, so this is the end of our Mexico. I taught in Mexico last week, a week and a half ago, at Boca de Tomatlan with Casa de Artistas, Bob Masla. And this is my friend Susie Heyer, who's a Colorado artist. But that's what I keep telling my class. I kept saying, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this week, because in Mexico, I taught till 1, we had lunch, and then we had siesta and margaritas until 3:30, laying on the beach, and then we taught it, and I started teaching it at 3:30, and then stopped at 6:30, and this is one of the days we just painted on the beach. Half my class didn't even paint. Some of them were just lounging on the lounge chairs. One went off, I don't know where she went. Nobody was even painting. People were swimming. But it was a blast in Mexico. So plein air gardens. All right, so I paint in my garden a lot. Should I look at my time? What's my time?
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, okay. So plein air gardens. So this is a very, very early garden painting. This painting, 30 by 40, is a studio painting. I shouldn't say plein air, except that I did so many parts of this painting from life. It's in Connecticut, and taking the different plein air paintings from life, the studies and photos, and because I paint from life so much, and it's so important to paint from life, I paint from life so much that I can convincingly paint from photos when I want to, because I have that knowledge in my head from painting from life. So this is one of them that I did from Price Studies. This is definitely plein air outside in the garden. I painted this in Putney, I remember, and I stuck some pansies in there with the tomatoes. And Richard did a painting, and I think one of his Alla Prima 2 book, he probably has a painting similar to this, because we were all painting in Putney in Captain John's garden.
That's very Richard Schmidley.
Oh, well, that's a nice compliment. Thank you. But if you look at like the leaves, I'm trying not to make the leaves have very close values. I was really conscious. How do I make that little thing come? She told me that if I push this, I'd be able to make a path. I'd be able to use a pointer. That little green button, I thought. Oh, there you go. How'd you
Press
do
it down
that?
and point it at the screen.
Oh.
And be sure not to get anybody in the eyes with it.
Thank you, Jim. So, when I do something like this, I'm conscious of creating a path to go up. People always ask me, especially in class, like, do you decide your focal point? I never think of a focal point. I think of movement around the painting. I think of these stems coming down this way. I think of the darks carrying me through the painting, the path going up this way, keeping my values really close in the leaves so that it doesn't look super tight.
Lead-in at the bottom.
This one?
The lead-in, your light lead-in of the dirt, it's real light there.
Here?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I guess this winds up being the focal point is the tomato, but why did I choose these pansies? Because of the contrast of the very, very white against the dark. That's why I chose that. The cherry tomatoes, they're just kind of lumped in there. So.
Was that all there, or did you put
I put the pansies there.
in?
I put the pansies there, the tomatoes were there.
Okay.
Right. So this is another painting. This was a friend's house. Her house was brown wood. So this was kind of her garden. This I did plein air. I did the sunflower with the morning glories. I think I did another painting of sunflowers from there, from life. This obviously is from a photo, because look how big it is, 50 by 40. But just to show you that this house was brown, it was wood. But you can see that what a difference it would be if it was brown, right? Being white. So I just changed it to a white house, that's all. Were these cosmos all right where they were in this nice line? No, of course they probably were not. You know, the tomato, the sunflower plants were like this. I'm not even sure if the tomato plants were completely like that, but once again, I have the path as a lead-in. And, you know, this is a very difficult painting, but because I did some of it from life and some studies, you know, then I'm able to do the whole painting from the rest from photographs. And like I said, I made that up, so what the heck, right? This is a poppy painting I did for my garden. I think this is, the size might come up next. So this is my garden. Oh, now I like this little thing. This is my garden over here. Looks kind of weedy right now, actually. But I grow, I have a huge poppy garden in the spring. They grow on their own. So I took this giant, this is a pretty big canvas, and I took this outside, and this is how I started. So, you know, I had the landscape back here from life. I knew I wanted this kind of directional thing going on here, and I'm trying to paint, I started to paint this from life. This is another painting that I went out probably, I don't know how many times, I don't remember, but this is the 34 by 50. So I did take this canvas outside. I don't have the intermediate ones, but I probably went outside 3 or 4 times. And then I finished in the studio. Because like I was telling my class today, especially when you're setting up a still life, you take so much care to set up the still life. You try to work your problems out. You know, even outside, you want to work everything out. You want to get it just so, and then you paint it. But you have to be willing to change things, because at some point you cross the line and it becomes about the painting. It's not about what you set up anymore. Oh, I have to put that there because I set it up like that way, and it was, you know, I took so much time. No. Now it's about the painting. So this painting took many turns before I got to okay, so this is one that this is a little bit different than the cardinal I painted in watercolors a million years ago. But this is one of the things that I'll do for plein air. This is also at our house. And the quince bush was real, it doesn't look like it here, but it was really beautiful that year. And I decided I wanted to do a painting with a quince in it. So, I mean with a cardinal in it, on the quince. So what I did was I looked for, where a cardinal could sit. That's the first thing I did. So I found one of these, well, this is branch going over, I can't find it right now. But I looked for a branch where I thought a cardinal could fit. I took my setup outside and I painted the quince and the bush and the landscape outside with the cardinal that I did not have. Should I tell the story, Dorothy? Okay, so I do have animals in my freezer because of my cats or my hitting the window or whatever. But whatever I wind up finding or somebody gives me goes in my freezer in a nice little Ziploc box with a nice little cover on it. And I was telling the class today, like one time my son came home and he goes, "Mom, why is there a chipmunk in the freezer?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know where it came from."
Watch the microphone, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did everybody hear that? That I had a chipmunk in my freezer? Sorry. Anyway.
I like your setup, especially a glass of wine there on the.
Oh, I was hoping you didn't see that. Well, clearly it must have been at the cocktail hour. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, maybe I should cut that part out. Anyway, so I don't have a cardinal in the freezer. So what did I do? I have a huge file of birds that I've been cutting out for years, or of course the internet. So when I want to paint a bird, I either go to my freezer or I look for the appropriate position or posture, or, that gesture of the bird that I want to put in the painting. So, whoops. Anyway, that's not the final painting. I guess I didn't put the final painting in, but that's how I get the bird in. So this was the quick draw at Bozeman when I went in 2021, and sometimes you're presented with things in these plein air shows, and you're like, they told us, oh, it's going to be so gorgeous, this place, and when I walked around this pond, I was like, oh my God. There's not so much to paint here, and so I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? So luckily, I love yellow flowers, so I found. But you look at this and you don't really see a painting there so much, right? But I love the yellow flowers, and there was a little bit of purples in here. So I decided this is where I was going to paint. So what I do is I take a close up of the flowers just so I know what the flower is. That's a wildflower that I really love. And I take a close-up of that, and this is where I'm painting. That's how far I got, because there was the water there, and this is my finished painting. So I try to think, what is it about the painting that I love, that I can make my viewer realize how beautiful this setting, because this particular setting was so beautiful. It was the little pops of yellow all over, just dots of yellow, dots and dots and dots of yellow, little dots of purple. So that's what I was trying to convey, and I think I did it because somebody bought the painting. But it was difficult. Sometimes it's difficult. I don't like to paint until I am so excited about what I'm going to paint and so drawn to it. But sometimes I get stuck and something like that. You're plunked in here. It's a quick draw. You have to do a painting, and so now I got to find something and find how am I going to make it work, because I still have to be excited. I cannot paint unless I'm thoroughly excited about what I'm going to paint in some way. Oh, it was small. It was probably like an 8x10. It was small. So, okay, studio still life. So I have a big garden at home. It's getting smaller as I get older. I'm trying to find friends that have good gardens so I can just go to their houses. But so all these zinnias were mine, and I brought them in. So when you create a still life in your studio with live flowers, all flowers are different, but some flowers move so fast, like the tulips, which we never got today. Zinnias don't move so fast, actually, so they're a little bit easier. So I take a lot of care to set up, and I'm thinking of harmony, and we were talking a lot about backgrounds in the class, and how the background should harmonize with your subject. That is so important, because a lot of people struggle with the backgrounds, and you can see that. Why do I keep winding up over there? You can see that I didn't use this at all. I just kept that as dark, because I think once I thought I was going to use it, but then once I started the painting, I realized it would be better to not do that. And this is not exactly what this is, right? So I brought some of these down, but like I said before, you set it up, work everything out as best you can, but then realize it's about the painting. What do I have to change to make the painting more perfect in your more what you really want it to be? This was peonies. This painting is very meaningful for me because it was a week after Richard died, and I went up to Nancy's house and we painted together, and I swear to God, I think this is one of my best paintings. I love it so much, and I swear I think Richard came through to me and painted this painting. I don't think I painted this painting, but the peonies, when I paint something like peonies, putting the buds in and having the different, beautiful, different colors. But I love peonies buds so much. But you can see this was in a vase with a white backdrop, and I didn't do that at all. You know, I just have the dark all the way to the bottom because to me it was just about the colors of the peonies and the buds and that sort of thing. That's what I loved. This is just the start of a pansy painting, so this is what I keep talking about in the class about. That's what I do. I start off by just wiping out and toning the canvas first in the harmony of the painting, and I mostly tone it in some sort of a earth tone because that's what you see when you look at the garden and when I look at a pot of pansies. Don't you see that you mostly see browns and greens back there? That's what you see because that's what's there. So it's not that I have a formula that's my wash. But it's always my wash for the most part when I paint gardens because it's what I see. I know it's what works behind there. And then you just start putting the flowers in a little bit at a time, and you wipe the canvas right. I try to wipe the canvas right down to the white. I had a student today who was painting a yellow pansy, and she only had wiped out to like this. And she was about to paint a yellow flower, and I made her wipe all the way out to this, to the white, get right down to that clean canvas. And all of a sudden, she was able to get that brilliant yellow up at the top because she was on a white canvas. If you're trying to paint it on this, you know, unless you paint super thick, and some people think, wait till you have Scott Burdick here. I hope everybody's going to sign up for, and Sue Lyon, actually Sue Lyon I think is the teacher, and Scott at the school. He paints very heavy, and a lot of painters do that. And then you can do that. Then you can do, but it's not the way I paint. I build up a little bit, a little slower at the time. So just another one I set up at Putney Painters. When I used to go up to Putney Painters, one of the hardest things for me was I would set something up there, get halfway done or not even. I'm actually faster now than I used to be. And then I would come home and try to finish the painting. And it was so hard because I didn't have the same light. I didn't have the same height. You know, I couldn't reset it up the same. So I just was I'd come home so frustrated trying to finish these paintings, and I just decided that I was determined I am not going to leave until I figure out how to leave that situation, whatever it is, and be able to come home and easily finish the painting. And then I realized that to get the values, to get the temperature, to get the light, and get a really good photo. And when I take, like if I have a light on my flowers, if I turn the light out, I get a better photo, because the photo for me is only really good for the drawing, to look at the drawing and oh yeah, I see how what I liked about that. And remember, Dorothy, today I kept saying, you know, like, I don't remember why is this not working now when I thought it was going to be good. I did a demo that I realized afterwards there was something really wrong with it. but I figured it out. But you know, that's what the photo is for. You're not going to ever see the color. You're not going to see the temperature, and even the light flashes out in the photo. So I was determined that I wasn't going to do that anymore because it made me crazy. So something is making you really crazy and really frustrating you. You have to see if you can figure that out, and then start with the next part. With, you know, how am I going to fix it? What can I do? Who can I go? What's my resource? Who can I go to that can help me figure this out? Uh-huh.
And you want to finish at home, do you go ahead and mix up some of those colors?
No. No, I don't. Because you know why? Because color is actually the least important of everything for me. And that sounds crazy, because beautiful color in your painting is the most important. But getting that right color to match the exact color of that pink of that flower or whatever is so unimportant in the process I can get there at the end if I need to. As long as it winds up being a beautiful color, who knows what real color that pink was or that orange was, right? No, but who cares? As long as what you finish with is a beautiful color. But if you're trying to, I was telling the class today, one of my regrets in life, I don't have a lot. I wish I was a jazz musician, and I wish I was a Broadway star, and I don't know, I've got a lot of them, I guess. But one of my regrets is when I started with the Putney Painters and we painted portraits pretty much every other. Why are you laughing? What did you wish to be? I want to be a Broadway star. It's probably too late for me. I know.
I just imagined you, yeah, sorry.
Exactly. But when I started with Putney Painters, we used to paint portraits every other session. And then when it was nice weather, we'd do landscapes. And I regret that when I started with portraits, that I didn't use a really limited palette. I should have started either with just one color, like a grisaille, or just a simple 3-color palette, because there was so much to learn at once, and trying to match the skin color and trying to get the correct color for the shadows, trying to turn the cheek, there was so much that it would have been so much easier if I had just worked on drawing, and just forget it, one color, that whole time. That's my only regret. That's the only regret in life. No, it's not. It's not my only regret in life. Anyway, this actually is an example of one of the paintings that I went home and was able to easily finish at home, because that's where it was. I don't think that's the finished painting. I don't know what I've done with these slides, to tell you the truth, but I went home easily able to finish it. This is another one that I set this up at home. So I mean, look how crazy complicated this is. So this is how insane. We went to Cape Cod for something or other, and the blue hydrangeas were pretty much almost over in the Cape when we went. But I found like one here and one there, and I cut one here and one there, mostly from hotels, never from private places. And I cut the beach. What do you call those? Not the beach roses. What do you call the fruit? Well, they're from the Cape, Cape Cod. They're the fruit, I can't think of what you call them. Rose hips. Thank you, rose hips. And the sweet pea is from my garden. So I schlepped those hydrangea home from the Cape, and and the rose hips home from the Cape, because I had this painting in my head, and then what I was saying also today in class is I love sweet pea and I love nasturtiums because of the beautiful vines and leaves, and it gives you such an incredible opportunity to create the first painting I showed you of the hydrangea, of creating that movement in the sweet pea vines, creating movement and direction. And so anyway, I set this up at home, and it was and there was also these Rose of Sharon, I think, white Rose of Sharon. Yeah, that was all from the Cape. Stolen, mine. But not defaced, and respectfully, and et cetera, et cetera.
Kathy, it's not stolen. It's admired and acquired.
Thank you. Thank you. These are all from my garden, these flowers. So these are not stolen, right? So just to show you, I just picked the flowers and arranged them, basically. Actually, this is a little bit like the demo I was doing today, where I have these little these are bigger, but these daffodils going around, and I'm just thinking of the movement going through the painting. Like I said, I don't totally think of a focal point. I don't know, what's the focal point in this painting? I don't know. I don't care, Don't buy it if you don't find a focal point. But anyway, I like the movement. I like to think of the movement and the different directions, and I'm very conscious of everything going in a different kind of direction. And anyway, it's just so much fun. It really is. And I put this in because this is like a thought process. Like this is Lawrence Alma-Tadema. Is that how you say his name? Lawrence Alma-Tadema. It's a painting that I absolutely, first of all, I love him as an artist. And I always remember this with all these rose petals. And I don't know where I decided to paint this, but that's the inspiration for this painting. So what was from life? Not the bird. All this was from life. I let roses dry and I picked off their petals, and it was just like a study in rose petals. Like, I really like this painting. I kind of wish I hadn't sold it, but and I only have the one area of the green going over the top. I didn't put that anyplace else really. But I just, very careful use of edges. I think of the edges as just kind of guiding you kind of through the painting, and, leave areas of mystery. Why not? It's fun to have areas of mystery. Oh, I don't know what's left. Okay, where this painting came from was me walking in the park and finding this log. I just found this little piece of wood. And I found the wood, and then the painting came into my head because it was fall, and I thought, oh, the leaves, and then I put the little bird. I did not have him in the freezer, so he probably came off the internet, but I made this up because I set it up. You can see I set it up in my studio, so this is all made up, so that's it. Workshop demos. I forgot what this is even all about. Oh, this was a workshop in Indiana. We went outside. The beautiful dogwood trees out there. That's a lesson in itself. When you go out and you see a dogwood tree or like a magnolia tree or anything, how do you pick out what to paint out of that tree? It's like, so you just have to, I guess I liked the fact that I liked this kind of cascade of dogwoods coming down. I don't even see it here, to tell you the truth. Maybe it's there. I'm looking at an angle, and I'm looking over there, and I don't know what I'm looking at. But I must have seen it somewhere. But that's what I was looking for. I was looking for something that I could pull out of that tree that would be dramatic. And I have some of the tree trunk here. The photo's not that good. And some of the branches of the trees in here. And just a little bit of edges here and there to show leaves. You don't want to paint all the leaves, but you've got to, and also the dog was all different directions, right? They're kind of got different directions, up, this one's this way, and, that kind of, I'm always like thinking of irregular stuff. This is just a rose demo that I did, mixed roses. What is this? Oh, this was, I taught at work in Rosemary and Co. Workshops in Yorkshire. I taught there, and this is at Rosemary's house, where the home of Rosemary Brushes actually, and she had all these wildflowers, and then she had this gorgeous rose garden. So I paid the students. We all went out and painted out in her gardens the whole time. And these are the paintings I finished, not finished. I still have this at home waiting to be finished. But the rest of these, I finished all of them at her house and in her garden. Her garden's so beautiful. And this was in Colorado, plein air. This was also a demo. Just somebody's beautiful rose garden. And this is another thing that's kind of difficult to do. Like, you look at this mass of daisies. I think there was an iris in there. I can't see it in here. Can you see it? Okay. So I put the one iris in because without the iris, it might be pretty, but the iris really is what makes it, right? But I guess it's a focal point. It could be a focal point. But once again, being really careful, some of them are the back, some of them are buried. And when you want to paint a realistic garden, the stems go over things, right? They go over the flowers. The bud goes over the flowers. Up here, the perspective is going back, so you don't see so much going on back here. And then a whole big, just blank green area, because it's not so, well, it's sort of up there, kind of, but, and then make sure you get your perspective right? So these two are right, then they get smaller and smaller, and they go all the way to the back. And this was a demo I did for the Scottsdale Artist School. It was a Zoom workshop, and it was a little scary because the Zoom is over 3 weeks, and I said it was going to be spring flowers, and I was stupid enough to not think about the fact that spring flowers don't last for 3 weeks sometimes. Like these viburnum, they don't last very long at all. But I think I lucked out by having a cool spring, so I was able to reset it up. So that's what I was talking about in our class today, because the last thing we did today, we had a big bouquet of these incredible mixed daffodils that one of the students stole from her. But no, she found them in a field. But you can't do it in one session. I couldn't do it in one session. And you can't really set it up the same way again. So it's okay, take a really good photo and then get as much as you can blocked in, and then go, if you have to replace it and get new daffodils to put in, and that's what I did with this, because like I said, the Scottsdale School, the demo is, the Zoom class is 3 hours, 3 consecutive weeks. So this setup was never going to last that long. So I wound up, the first one I think was a real block-in, and then I wound up having to replace things, and I don't know how I pulled it off, quite frankly. Oh my God, who put this painting in, this picture in? It looks like it's my cat's. I don't know who put that in. Anyway, I think that's it. I don't know what time it is. I don't know if I'm really short or.
You got about 20 minutes.
I still have 20 minutes? What do you want to do? Sorry? Oh, well, let's watch the video first. Look at that. What are their names? Paco and Daisy. Daisy's the licking one right now. I have painted them. My Christmas card last year was my cat's. Oh yeah, I have a lot of cat paintings. Look at his face, he's so happy. Oh. Oh, I miss them. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know what to do for 20 minutes unless we ask questions.
Ask questions?
Yeah, please, ask any questions. I'm just gonna step,
And do you have a process for setting up your still lifes, like rules that we should follow? I know there's rules or sometimes.
no, definitely no rules. What I get really, really excited about whatever's in bloom right now. So what I do, usually it's color that attracts me. So I look at whatever's in bloom, like when my poppies come out, I think, oh my God, my poppies, and then I think to myself, oh, I want some kind of contrast. I want something maybe white against them to contrast them. So usually at that time of year when the poppies are out, the peonies are out. So I do a lot of that kind of thing. In the middle of the winter, well, I just actually finished a little still life. Oh, can I plug one thing?
Yeah, but watch the microphone.
Oh, I forgot about the microphone. Forgot all about the microphone. Did anybody hear what I just said? I'm so sorry. What were we talking about? Oh, setting up a still life. I'm sorry. I apologize. Remind me. Setting up a still life somebody just asked me in the front here, and I was saying that usually I'm attracted by a color that's blooming in my garden, like the poppies. When my poppies come out, and I immediately think, well, I need a contrast, just against the red poppies. I usually, and my peonies are usually out at the same time, so the red and white, that will attract me. Or, I just see something, it's almost always color that grabs me, some kind of color. And then I think, oh, I have all this still life stuff. What will harmonize and go beautifully with this color flower? And I started to say something else after that. Oh, yes. I just finished a painting where I had some beautiful red apples, and I knew I wanted a contrast with that. So I put some white carnations with it. So I don't know how to answer the question. Where'd you go? I think it's something that will attract me. Like if I buy some still life thing that gets me so excited immediately, like I'll be driving around and I'll be thinking about like, oh, what would go with that? That would be so beautiful. But it's usually in the realm of color that I'm thinking.
I suppose what I meant is your photos of the still life look very random, but your paintings are stunning compared to what you photographed. And I'm wondering, how do you know where to put things in your still life so that painting turns out?
Well, how do I get back to the very first one? Because would be a good. Okay, that would be a good example. If I got back to that very first one with the sunflowers and the hydrangea, because that would probably be a good example of that. My setups really aren't random at all. No, they're not. They're not random. I wonder if I can go backwards even to the tulips. Oh, what's this? Oh, I missed those two. But anyway, would you call this setup random?
It would never occur to me to make it look like it does on the left, but obviously that's the way to do it. I'm wondering how do you learn to develop the eye for that?
Well, I thought of what I was thinking of on the one on the left was the pattern of the white coming down and cascading all the way down. And that's why I added this, I added this one down here, I think. Yeah, because see, this is the bottom. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, it needs another light down. It needs another light down here. So that gets back to what I was talking about with, it's about the painting and not about what I set up. So I realized that I needed this down here. So therefore now I have this path going all the way up of all the lights going all the way up.
So would you say that composition starts with the cardinal gazing toward that light and then it moves you up?
Yeah, you could. When I paint birds and animals in the painting, I really like them to be found. I don't. Sometimes they are the main thing, but I love to paint them so that you just find them. Do you know what I mean? So that they're in their natural habitat, so they're really just found. I just.
When you set it up, you put the glasses in with water,
Yes.
hot, and then when you paint, you just zone those out and go in the right.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I will put the vase in, but not always. Huh. Now it's not going forward again.
Mike's gonna try to start it over.
Oh, I was going to show you those last couple of photos that I missed. But nothing's happening.
Do you take the flowers from your garden and take them into a less sunny area to paint them so that they don't wilt?
You mean when I bring them in the house?
Well, or if you're doing it plein air and you want to paint them outside.
Oh, no. I just paint them where they are in the garden. And then
Here in Georgia,
you can't stand in the full sun.
really brutal.
Yeah.
When your paints are melting.
You can't. It's not that you can't. I can't stand in the sun anymore and paint. So, no, when I paint, I usually will choose like early morning or late afternoon is my favorite actually to paint. Oh, actually, I somehow missed these photos. This is a video too, but I missed these photos for some reason. This is a video. This is a video too, but it's okay. Oh my God, yeah.
We are here.
Oh, this is where we were in Mexico.
Boca de Toma Land.
This is when we just got
Thank you,
there.
Bob
in Mexico.
Massa, for inviting me here. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see everything, every single thing. It is.
See, it wasn't a
so
luxury town. It was a
here.
real Mexican fishing village.
Here I am with my husband, John. We just got here. We don't know where to go. We're right here. We're gonna go have a drink. Bye.
God. And that's basically how we spent the whole week. But this is a plein air piece I did. I don't know where these came from in the middle of the. This was when they took us on a boat across to three beaches down, and this is what I was saying when half my class wasn't even painting; they were just enjoying themselves, drinking Coco Locos or whatever. But I, of course, being the professional, I painted, but. You know, the ocean was right there in front of me, and of course, you know, you would think, oh my God, you're not painting the ocean, but I'm not attracted to painting just the ocean with the waves. I love painting rivers with rocks and surf, you know, and big, you know, the rapids coming over rivers. I love painting the ocean with rocks and big waves and foam, but it doesn't attract me to paint the beautiful blue ocean, although I could sit and look at it forever. It doesn't attract me to paint that. So you really have to understand what are you excited for. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. It's what are you excited about. So I had completely had my back to the ocean, and this is what excited me. And why did it excite me? I loved this dark underneath this. So this is not finished. This was only painted right there on the beach, and this is probably like an hour and a half. But I got in what I needed to get in. You know, I have to obviously a lot to finish. I might just do it bigger because I was very excited by this. But sometimes what happens to me with these when I go on these oh, my cats again. Oh no. What happens to me when I go on these trips is I come home with all these paintings, and it's hard for me to get the energy sometimes without being there in the environment to get the energy to go back to those paintings. So sometimes if I do it right away, and usually something happens where I can't do it right away. Can I get back to that first painting, Jim? Just that, like, in other words, the very, very first, because I think that was a good. What's that? Look at those faces. We could all look at that forever, right?
Kathy, can you talk a little bit about when you decided that you can make a living being a painter? What kind of things did you do at the beginning?
Well, it was the mural business. You know, I made a little bit of money painting. You know, I painted watercolors, and I think I was in one gallery, and I used to do some of the outdoor shows. This was when our kids were really little, you know, like preschool. I just did some of the outdoor shows, and I certainly wasn't making a lot of money, just like a little bit here and there. And I guess it was the mural business that I started really making certainly not a lot of money again, but from there I went to the Putney Painters, and that's when I realized that you could actually make a living as an artist, as I said earlier, that you could make a living as an artist. But I know so many, you know, especially during COVID, like I have so many friends out west. I have to say most of them are guys, and they have families with lots of kids, you know, all the Mormons that I know out in Utah and Colorado and stuff. But they've all figured it out, you know. They all did, you know, Brian Mark Taylor, he has his Strata easel, you know. The workshops, the online workshops, and it's there's two, there's different ways of some people think like, oh God, I'm an artist, I don't want to think about money, I don't have to think about money, it's just about being creative. That's so, well, that's baloney. It's a business, just like and it has nothing to do with your creativity. You can have both. You don't want to sell yourself out. Like, I would never be a person that would paint what I know sells. I just wouldn't do that. I'm very lucky that what I love to paint is popular for people to purchase. I'm very lucky with that. But don't think I don't look at all those landscapes I paint. Where do you think those are? They're in my studio. I mean, most of my galleries don't want my landscapes. They'll take them sometimes, but people are always like, I'm a member of the Salmagundi Club. I'm in their permanent collection. I've been a member for 20 years. 2 years in a row now, I've gotten rejected from their members show. I'm a friggin' member. Like, what? Do you know who I am? Well, I'm just kidding. But it's like, I submitted 2 paintings that were not florals. So I don't know, did that affect them? I have no idea. Maybe they just weren't good paintings, but I think they were okay. They were good enough to certainly be in the show. But I don't care. I'm going to paint what I love to paint, and that's what you need to do. But workshops or I love to teach. If there was something I learned from Richard Schmid, again, is pass it on. So it's I mean, everybody, all you need is the passion to learn, really. It's all you need. If you really, and I see it, I teach so much, and I see people, and I can recognize when somebody really is like, they're desperate to learn. They want to get everything they can, and if you're not like that, and you just want to paint for fun. I was saying this in the class, right? You want to paint for fun. It's not fun. You're in this trap once you're an artist and you start painting and you think you're gonna, I'm just gonna paint for fun, and when I feel like it and stuff. But then all of a sudden you do a painting and something comes out really nice, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I can do that again. Or something you're painting and you're like, this doesn't really look very good. I wish I could be a little bit better. It's like, I mean, I guess there are people that just paint and they love everything they do, and that's great. There's no wrong. There's no wrong. But you have to, I guess, realize, what do you want? If you just want to paint for fun, but like I said, it's a trap, then you're going to want to be better, and you want to know how to do that. You want to get, you don't want, it just goes on and on. But aren't we lucky that that's what your life is, that you never stop. It's just, it never stops. So so this painting, like when you said random, in my classroom, I have this setup for this, and it looks like a mess, doesn't it? Dorothy, you saw the setup, right? It does. It looks like a big mess. And by the time, this is a big painting, 26 by 36. So by the time I got, I tried to work on this almost every day. I know what's going to go fast. And by the time several days, things started to die and started to look really crap. By the time I finished this painting, the sunflowers were completely, I had no sunflowers. I had a totally dead sunflower plant in a plastic pot, but I kept it to the very end because even though everything was completely dead, I could still see the stem and how the leaves came out, the structure, how the flower came out. I could see that from the structure of Oh, no, I didn't paint it from the dead, but the one leaning over, that's a spent sunflower, but it wasn't as dead as when I say dead. These were really, really, really dead. No, I used the dead one for leaves, to see how the leaves fell and how they came out. Yeah, those, I love to put those into paintings, to put in the ones that don't have the flowers on them anymore. But this painting, yep, go ahead.
Can I ask you what, it seems
Whoops.
like you paint a lot of large canvases.
No, not a lot, but
I mean, well, okay, but then you paint the really small ones when you're doing plein air, right?
I paint, the biggest I go with plein air for the most part is 1216.
And so what in your mind determines the size of how you're going to,
How much time I have. Pretty much how much time I have.
So you
So-
know that you set this up, you know it's gonna last so long, and so you have a lot more control once it's in the house.
Yes, definitely. I definitely have more control when it's in the house.
So you have more time to
Yeah.
paint something bigger than when you're out plein air and you gotta get it, you know.
Although I think I showed you some real big ones. Oh, maybe I didn't because I think I have a photograph of it in the classroom. I did a 30 by 40 painting outside of a giant quince bush where I created putting pansies under it and cut tulips stuck in flower tubes under it. And it was 30 by 40, and I painted it maybe 3 times outside, 3 or 4 times outside, and then I brought it into the studio and finished it in the studio.
When you start like this painting here, you got it all, you know what's going where. Do you go in and do the ones that are the easiest for you? Like the sunflowers or the whatever? Do you go and
I think I started with the sunflowers, not because they were the easiest, because I wanted to make sure that I got them before they moved or changed. Because I thought maybe they would change. I knew the hydrangea weren't going to move at all.
but do you I don't know what I was gonna say now.
You said, did I start with something that I thought would be the easiest? No.
You paint the most of, so you know you can get that in quickly.
No. More, I'm thinking of what's going to move or die first. That's the main thing that I think of when I started. But I don't. There's a couple of intermediate photos of this before, before the setup, where I just have the lights pulled out on the top, and then getting all the lights going, and then just getting big brush strokes of darks going in. So just getting the values first, which is the main thing that I do on almost every painting, is trying to get the values in first.
One more, what's the easiest flower for you to paint? Gotta be one that's easier than the other.
I don't know. The easiest flower for me to paint? I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that. Nothing's easy. I'm going to say nothing. That's my answer, because it depends on the angle, it depends on the light, it depends on the drawing, and it depends on too many things. Everything is equally as easy and as hard. How's that? Yes.
Or starting a painting like this, you don't sketch it out on a piece of paper first.
No, I don't.
Kind of sketch with your paint,
I do.
whether it's lifting the paint or
Yes, yes. And like I was telling the class today, when they had a large grouping of flowers, I'll kind of indicate where I know the hydrangea, something this big. I might draw a very small, indication of where everything's going to be, the placement. I wouldn't do it with the nasturtium leaves, because those I know I'm going to plan those later, because they're such an integral part of my design that I'm going to put them on once I have the solid foundation of the big shapes and values first, and then I'll start playing back and forth. Are they getting the hook out? Can I say two? Can I do 2 promotional things?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Go forward.
Thank you.
You bet.
So I just wanted to say that next Wednesday night on Zoom, Epiphany Fine Art, EPIPHANY, yeah, Epiphany Fine Art. I am doing a Zoom demo. That's March 20th, I think, from 6 to 8 of spring flowers, and you can once you sign up for it, you can. I think it might be $40, or you can have it for a month So if you can't even come on with a Wednesday night, you can watch it for a month. And I forgot my cards, but I'm having a solo show. If anybody's in New York City in October, I'm going to be publishing it on Instagram at the National Arts Club. So, and I'm going to have a lot of paintings, and it's going to be the seasons, well, going through the seasons, and I'm very excited about it.
How nice.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much for coming, everybody, and for listening to me, watching me cry.
No, it was a delightful presentation.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah.
Before everybody leaves, I understand that some are not getting our emails.